Let's get started officially. Say welcome to the Service Area Annual Budget Workshop. Today's Monday, August 17th. It is now 1:20 p.m. I'm Alex Georgiata, Service Area Director. Next to me here is Delise Rodriguez, Service Area Administrator. Joining us online, we have Ray Fevres, Finance Manager. Jacob Waddle, General Manager, should be joining us shortly. Also online, we have there he goes. That's right. Taylor Sachs from the committee is joining us online. And in person, we have Craig Grace joining us from the committee. We do have a quorum. So let's get the meeting started. We have a motion to call the meeting to order.
The motion to call.
And let's get started going through the budget. Bring it up online so it's easy for everyone to take a look at. High level, landscaping was one of the larger increases. The out of contract would be plant material and sod and things of that nature. That was 16% increase. So we're going from 12,000 to 14,000. But the larger item was the item above that, was the base contract. And the thought here is if we want to go towards an RFP, we're putting in money to allow the funds to do so. We have the option. Currently, we're at 72,800 is our current contract, and we lock that in until the end of 27. So we can stay with that. Or if we want to have a buffer to allow for an RFP for next year, we'll put an increase in there. I don't think that'll be sufficient, 36%, but at least it's something. We're not going in totally cold.
Do you understand?
Dale, you understood that part?
Yeah.
Some of it. So is there a cost associated with doing an RFP?
No. It's only financial planning ahead of time, assuming the next contract would be substantially more expensive. So just allocating for that.
And you're saying that the current contract is 72 a year, 72 and change?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
72.8.
And then for 2026, it was, I guess the budget was 72, and then we ended up projecting over that a bit. Is that just from the costs?
No, I think that's accounting. We shouldn't, that'll be an accounting issue. Ray could verify that, but that's just a constant monthly expense. So we shouldn't be going over on that unless Ray advises otherwise. It could be just an allocation item there. You're talking about 85 over the 72, right? Is that what we're saying projected?
Yeah, it's like about 85. Yeah. For 26
Yeah,
projected.
I think that was just sort of an extrapolation, mathematical calculation that went on there.
Okay.
Ray, let me know if you think we're doing anything above and beyond the basic monthly in landscaping, but otherwise we should be in out of contract. We have out of contract and operating, and then we have our reserve funds as well. We have additional funds there. I'll tell you this year for reserves, we have another 8750. So we have 8750 plus our 12,000. So we have 21,000 in out of contract work. So that allows for hedge replacement, plant replacement, sod replacement, anything like that.
Yeah. Well, in this budget, is he taking into consideration all the warranty-based product as well?
There's no cost to us. Yeah.
Okay.
And so just for clarification on that, now when we're going to execute that work, our next estimate is going to have all those items listed with a zero cost associated, so we can track what address, quantity, and so forth. And
Right.
it could be very clear, black and white, not being double billed, making sure warranty is deemed warranty.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what I want to make sure, because I don't want to build money into the budget. Okay. For stuff like that was clearly and understood to be a
100%.
warranty.
Okay. Yep. Taylor, clear with that? I know we had a concern with that with warranty work. On the next estimate, you'll see it. It'll be by address. It's everything by address. It might be somewhat lengthy, but it's pretty simple to read. You go to the address and you see plants, quantity of this, and if it's zero cost, that's a warranty replacement.
Okay. So when we're looking at this proposed 27 budget of 99.6, we should be looking at as an increase from the 72, not necessarily the 84.
Correct.
And
Correct.
this increase is due to, are we getting additional services?
No. Again, this is an allocation or an allowance if we are going to go to RFP. If we're definitely sure we don't want to go to RFP, we could keep it flat, 72.8, and we'll save on the monthly right away. It's a nice drop. We'll save I want to say $20 a month. I think it'll go to, we're at 369 currently. I think it's going to 348. So we'll save $20, and instead of a 17% increase, it'll be a 10% increase.
Okay, yeah. And so it's a higher amount for like, say that again, it's just like the potential if we were to go to bid, like maybe we go to bid.
Yeah, I'm just allowing the numbers in there to give us the option if we are, because some service areas talk a lot about RFP, they're unhappy. So I said, all right, if you want to do that, realistically, let's put some funds in the budget for next year to allow for that. If we're just talking, just high level talking, not really thinking of moving forward with that, it's a different story.
And
I mean,
why couldn't we go to an RFP at 72?
Say that again, sorry.
Like, why wouldn't we go to an RFP at the same amount that we're paying for our current?
Oh, no, that's same, we are. I mean, our base rate will stay 72, but we're projecting new rates coming in much higher than that. I mean, to give you an idea, like, Brian gave us some numbers on, increases on expenses. For instance, like for a base home, $70 a month. Oh, you know what? Let's do a quick one, monthly. Okay. Let me do our existing, cost, per door. That's the way we do it. So we're at 72,800 divided by how many? 109 units divided by 12. So we're at 56. That makes sense. 72,800 divided by 109. Yeah, divided by 12. $55 a door. Yeah. So right now, unless I'm missing something, if you want to check my math, Taylor, we're about 50. But
as I say, they're one of the lowest paying by door.
it's extraordinary. $55
So,
door.
I remember last year that it was in the mid-50s, you know, per door. So that's why it's.
I mean, a new account for Brian, I just give you ballpark high level. Pest control alone is $70 per month. Pest control alone. Irrigation service, $55 a month per month. And then basic service is $145 per home. If you're a corner property, probably $160 or so. So we're looking roughly $270. High level before any volume discounts. Ballpark $270 for new accounts, roughly. So we're comparing 55 a door to 270. So, and I only put 30%, 35% increase, which I think is still going to be low, realistically speaking. So when Brian priced the same contract, that's what we're looking at. And that's not taking into account, we have locked in plant material prices as well. He's going on old plant material prices. Those all go up probably 35% again. Labor rates go up 40%. So my advice always to service areas is to try to stay with this contract, lock it in. And if you really think we need additional scope, let's just do it incrementally, like an amendment. You want a guy per week or per month to come and do some extra weeding or miscellaneous, whatever the case might be.
That's what
I would say stay with these rates. And if we want extra, pay for the incremental extra. Don't RFP it because it's going to be painful down the road if you see what the current rates are. Even same guy pricing it, let alone outside vendors who don't even know the work.
How long is this contract with Brian through this?
To the end of 27.
End of 27. So we could be going to 27. And then after that, get a substantial increase, potentially. But with Brian wanting to maintain this side, the chances are, I talked to Brian about this.
Yeah, he's a big picture kind of guy.
Yeah,
so he understands.
I mean, he's not, and listen, in speculation, he wants to keep this contract.
And look, he's going to look at, he has multiple contracts expiring at the same time. I'm sure he's going to look at it as a group discussion, multiple service areas and see how many he's going to get. And, the conversation will go in that direction.
Right.
But he's a big picture person and he gets it.
So I guess they are the biggest issue. Should we put some provisions in the budget that we would have it in case that number goes up? Okay, in 28.
So next year we'll have that discussion.
Correct.
Yeah, I think maybe we evaluate it in 28. I big picture, I really don't like an almost 20% increase, let alone any increase. So for now, I'm just trying to look for ways to shave it. And I think this would be one of the higher ones.
Yep.
And then I'm back at the office now, so I'm going to take a deeper dive into his service contract to kind of get familiar with that. And then when we talk it again, I can be a little more up to speed on whether an RFP is necessary or not. But I think Brian's doing a great job. We just did that walkthrough and there's a lot of adjustments, and I think he's aware that there's significant issues and that they're addressing it. So I'm pleased with it so far.
Good.
And I am too. I mean, the thing about it is the only thing is do you put a token amount in now, okay, into next year's budget, just because that it's going to be an increase.
So do it in
in
two
28.
steps instead of one big step, or do two steps.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing there to do that is to turn around and put some kind of token amount in there. I would go where we just do, like you just said, hired out, for special services in the course of the year.
Yep.
And you probably are going to need that money anyway to do that.
Yeah. If you want to have some sort of allocation for something like that, just something to think about.
My advice on that is you have a very good contract.
Yes.
And you have a pretty all right as far scope to your contract. And if there's additional services, push against the contract. I mean, as you guys are doing now, you're doing your landscape walks, you're showing where there's any deficiencies, and you're asking for them to be maintained. Those efforts going into that, whether it means he's coming out another day and weeding or anything like that, those are typically, you're not seeing additional costs for it. And that's great. You should keep it that way. If there comes into next year a project that you're really wanting a special detailing project, pay for that out of your landscape not in contract line as far as a one-time off, and don't ask for any contract amendment on a billable hour. Don't give someone the idea that they can bill you more per hour outside of their contract unless.
I totally agree with that. I mean,
And in line with that conversation, again, I just remind everyone, please, if you do see deficiencies, like send a picture over same day immediately so we can address it. If I get it a week later, it's somewhat gone at that point, because he'll say, yeah, next week my crew will get it, and it's gone. We lost our opportunity to.
But I can just tell you, here's a classic example. When they delivered the mulch, okay, what they did is they threw the bags, okay, the bags have dye in them, okay, and they've stained a bunch of, we've shown that in the walk.
Yep.
Okay, mine is pretty prevalent on mine, and that's why it's for, they need to be cleaned up. Is that considered, something that we're gonna have, that should be basically he taking care of that, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we shouldn't have to pay for that incrementally to come and clean some of these sidewalks.
No, that should be part of the base job. I mean,
Yeah.
that's an incomplete job. I mean, we got the same thing with sod installation recently. If he leaves a mess, he has to go back and pressure wash fences and whatnot.
Yeah.
He created the problem.
Okay. We need to talk about doing that because there's several areas. I got several homeowners that come to me and said there's a problem
Yeah.
with this.
Let's identify that specifically. So we can
Okay,
address those.
okay, that's fine.
And then let's just go through the budget. I mean, so that one we can leave flat at 728. That'll make it's a big dent. That one saves about $20 per month. We're gonna save right there on the increase in dues. That should bring it down to about $33 per month, the increase instead of 53. What else? We had irrigation repairs. That one we bumped up. I had it at 1,500. We went up to 2,500 just to allow, we were upgrading the Muse, those drip lines. We did a few of them this year. So that's what we're already going over, just to allow us to complete the balance of them, because the drip lines are in older condition. So we'd like to slowly hit those every year. And then the other big item is the roof repair, our eaves, those sort of repairs. We haven't had any recently, but we had a whole slew of them come in. So again, just to leave an allocation there, if more do come up, because the construction defect is, ways down the road, and we have to do these repairs before then. We have to bring people to watertight conditions.
So,
Yep.
Alex, the roof repair, I guess, so that kind of fluctuates every year. So like 1 year is
This is
3,000.
the big item. Normally, we shouldn't need it. We just have this special circumstance of these deficiencies that we've been chasing. We had, how many did we have this year? 8? Something. So it's an out of the ordinary expense, I would say. We shouldn't normally have it so big. But since we've had a few, I just put it again in case we do have another slew of them that come up. It tends to be a section of eaves, so you see your exposed eaves, some paneling underneath if you look up from your front door.
That's all right.
And they'll be rotted out. We don't have 100%
I've
idea
got
of
that.
the. Yeah.
We've got that. So if the litigation is successful, does that get reimbursed?
It's in progress. I'm reimbursed in the sense that we will get a lump sum, which we could use towards this work. I mean, these items will be corrected. And then once we have the funds, we have to identify by priority how we're going to use this money. So that's a down the road discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, but shouldn't we, for all those that have you already done, shouldn't we pull money out of that before? I mean, on the budget, so, okay, the dollar's X, okay?
Yeah.
But you've done 20 of these now,
Mhm.
okay, 15 of these, whatever the number is. Shouldn't we go back and replenish the budget because you pulled money out of the budget to do that first?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
all our money in the sense of allocating you're talking about. It's just
Right.
allocation is what you're referring to.
Right.
I mean, yeah, we could do that accounting. It's
In other words, I think
We
we,
pulled out of operating now, so operating took a hit now to deal with these now,
yeah,
and then see how operating is looking down the road. You're saying to replenish it if necessary, if need be, we could have that conversation. But it's all our money. It's not, it's the same pool that we're dipping into. It's only for our service area.
right.
Taylor?
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, I mean, it's not to say we're gonna get everything we're looking for, there's different types of outcomes in these scenarios. Sometimes you get a ton of money. Oftentimes you're gonna get a fraction of what you need, and then we look at where our worst case scenarios in that case, who needs it the most at that time, and how many of them can we do? Can we do all the roofs? Not necessarily. So we look at it at that point.
I'm just telling you, there's needs to be dollars put aside for that when they start pulling those roofs.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we're going by the reserve study, and right now we're looking 29, 30, 31. It looks like our allocation for roofs. It's a 3-phase project. As time gets closer, we could look at consolidating. We have economies of scale to consider, but then also we have to look at our bank account. I mean, our reserves are at 1.5 or so currently. And the money for that project alone is about 1.5. We have paint coming up in 28, which shows here at about 150 for that project. We do have a reserve study coming up next year, which will update these numbers. I'm thinking they're all going to go up somewhat. So we're going to have to beef up our reserves just to stay on course. But let's see. Most of our budget numbers, our contract numbers have come in within our reserve numbers, so they're not way off. But if we do a new assessment, a new evaluation on reserves, I have a feeling they're going to go up from our existing numbers. Sorry. Yeah, question online?
No, not yet.
Ashley?
Oh, yes. Hi. Thanks, guys. I
How are
have a
you?
question. I'm
Yeah.
good. That's my first time in one of these meetings. It's cool to see all this from behind the scenes.
Mhm.
I have a question about the reserves. That was actually one of the things I was interested in joining this meeting. So the money for reserves, how is that handled by our HOA? Do you guys have that money in like a CD or some form of account that increases value over time?
Yep. If you see our every month, there's our balance sheet available online. So as of the end of this July, 1.4 is invested in what's called the CDAR, which is like a sweep account. FDIC has a 250K max on insurance. So you have these sweep accounts that will essentially make a bunch of 250K accounts, and they'll sweep accordingly to maintain that maximum balance, and as needed, open up new accounts. So we have 1.4 invested, plus it looks like another 170.
40,000.
Sorry, say it again.
You have $40,000 invested from the operating fund and $1.4 million invested from the reserve fund.
Okay. So the answer is yes, it's invested.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Keep going down to the budget. So the roof repair, we did bump that number up. It was 500. We put that up to 5,000 again, just to give us some buffer there if we do have more of these repairs coming up. This year, we're already, what the total was? 2,300 on it. Roof repairs as eaves.
Oh,
Yeah,
each one is 800.
yeah.
How much?
800 just to show up, basically. Some of them were more involved, some of them were like 1,200.
Yeah, I know.
Extent of the damage.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it's been, there's some of the bigger repairs were $1,200, so.
And then on the pressure washing, the spring and the fall and the gutter cleaning, we did conservative increases of 5%. Even if those come in over, the operating allows some buffer in there where we could still cover those. And then
Is the fall pressure washing so expensive compared to the spring because there wasn't a budget in 24? Or how did that work?
no, it's scope. It's entirely different scope. We do the entire building. The flats, the one earlier is only concrete, walkway and steps, no landings, no balconies, anything like that, or porches. The fall one is the entire structure, so it's a much larger scope.
I see. And is this cadence of twice a year, is that required for Spring Lake to do that? Obviously, I know it's required to do it for its residents, but if, for example, if we're trying to get this down to continuously at $315 a month for the residents, and we're looking at areas to kind of do some austerity measures, and we want to cut down the pressure washing as an example, Is there other requirements that is making this committee do these steps?
We
So,
have some requirements. Go ahead, Jacob.
yeah, it leads to the broader service areas and how it relates to community standards. So, one of our largest community standards non-compliance violations that gets sent out is for pressure washing. And typically, if townhome homeowners don't receive those letters because their townhomes are pressure washing is taken care of on this schedule. They even the community standards team works closely with Alex and Elise for if they cite pressure washing for a sidewalk or something and they see it like, oh, that's due for it. Before the violation letter is sent out, they reach out to the service area team to see when is it scheduled. Because if it's on the schedule in the next two months or so, then they will go ahead and not issue that violation as they know that the homeowner is already acting on getting back into compliance. Really, the service area is. This has been brought up by a different service area to the board in the past, that has tried to opt to not do a full pressure washing every year. And the committee even made a recommendation saying they choose not to. The board still implemented the budget with the funding in that line. And then when it came to the pressure washing in that year, they still initiated the contract for that pressure washing based on they wanted those homeowners to not have those letters of non-compliance going out. In that sense of big piece I missed in all of this is outside of pressure washing cycles that are inside the budgets of the service area, the maintenance is on the responsibility of the homeowner. So if we opted out of this and Taylor, your front door gets a little, or your front steps get a little moldy, next month you could get that letter at your door saying you need to pressure wash it and it's your responsibility, not the service areas.
And so it becomes the service area's responsibility how and when, like because it's allocated in the budget?
Yes. Well, it's also tied to the charter responsibilities, which ties to the charter of the service area.
So, okay, so then how would it become the homeowner's responsibility?
Inevitably, it is the responsibility of the homeowners outside of cycles, or when the scheduled cycle takes place.
I see. Okay. Okay. Good to know.
You had a great question, but it's because it's come up before, and so I was like, oh, let me jump in on that one.
Yeah, that's good because we're gonna find it somewhere, but we're gonna have to shave something or like reduce some services, so we're not increasing the assessment every year. That looked like a low hanging fruit, but maybe it's not. So, but let's keep going down unless anyone has questions on pressure washing.
Just one item, just to put it in perspective. Again, look at it on a price per door. Again, the spring is $35 a door for flats, and the whole house $96 a door, which is impossible to replicate that. So it's an advantage to the homeowner to get that done.
Yeah.
So that's another huge positive. If you eliminate that now, each homeowner is going to take upon themselves how much, so you're going to save a little bit on your dues versus how much it's going to cost you, plus the headache of coordinating each person independently to do this work.
Yeah, no, I don't want to eliminate it. Definitely don't want to eliminate it. I just maybe not necessarily twice a year. Maybe we reduce the amount that's used, but definitely not eliminate. I think it's a great service.
Yep.
The only thing you could look at is not increasing by 5%. I mean, I agree that they haven't seen much increases, and that 5% is squeezing, or I mean, the balances are what they are, even when it comes in, and it could come in higher or lower than that 5%. If you're really, really wanting to, you could squeeze those numbers down to maybe a 3 on one of them, but knowing that any extra that comes in, you just have to eat out of your operating fund balance. We wouldn't advise it, especially knowing, like you said, with this active litigation taking place, you want to try to keep your funds as well funded till you know the results and and so you could use any buffers at that point if needed. But that's one area.
Let me ask you something, Jacob. On the other side of it, we're not the townhomes, but the other side.
Mhm.
How often are they? Because there are their porches over there. They're some pretty grody. Okay. They don't get anything, right? And that's the point. So the notices go out to them, and they need to do that independently.
And you see that pressure washing all the time.
Correct.
At some point.
Right. And there's some that are still that need some TLC. Okay, definitely. I mean, to me, what are you looking at, $500 increase here? The one,
For the years.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, exactly. Not even, I mean, but,
I mean, that's barely gonna move the number.
yeah.
Is the increase for inflation or is there additional services with that?
No, just inflation, just cost, labor and whatever the machines or whatnot.
So we're saying going from 10,000 to
10
10.5.
to 10.5.
Alright.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I said, guys, in 109.
Per door.
Yeah, you're adding $500 divided by 109 units.
And if we're in agreement, the top line's your biggest one. If we're gonna stay flat at that 72.8, that'll be a huge reduction right there. We're saving, I would say, $20 a month just with
Yeah, I
that.
mean, this number is already down to 340,
48, I think.
48, yeah.
Yeah, you're at a 10.3% increase is what I see after adjusting the landscape contract. Which leaves you the only things you could touch are your irrigation repair, those 5% increases on pressure washing and gutter cleaning. You have the management administration fee, which is tied to CROAs. And that would be based on the board's change. 4% is in line with what they're looking at, and that is assigned flat to all service areas. So then really the only other line that's causing the adjustment is your reserves. So that's really where you could make your main conversations about if they were wanting to get any more variance in that monthly assessment.
And we are trying to do catch up with that. So we are going over what the reserve study is recommending. We're doing catch up just so we're trying to reach our targets down the road, anticipating the painting and the roof coming up.
So you're going from the 247, is that what you're talking about?
Exactly, 247
270 to 280?
And we've been overfunding the reserves just to do this catch-up game annually.
And that's the part that could be replenished with the litigation.
Correct. That might be something to visit down the road, right? If our reserves are healthy at that point, we could say, you know what, we don't need to fund reserves so heavily, and we could look at that route. When the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing too, is do we really need that much? Okay, knowing that, I mean, realistically, the money's gonna come in, we think probably 28.
Maybe, and how much, we don't know, right?
Yeah, but it's gotta be pushing the $500,000 mark. There were numbers that were thrown.
I mean, I
about
would say
$1 million,
step one,
but
to do our reserve study next year and see how those numbers change. And then I would say if you want to look at it maybe next year, have that conversation. I know what you're saying. So if our reserves can be padded by
Right.
the extra income, but I don't want to count on that yet. It's not.
I know, but if you took the reserves right now and you took it from 247.5 and took that to 26, take $20,000 out of that.
Okay.
You still have a bump from 247, okay, up to 260. Okay. And you're talking about some of these repairs associated being, let's just say on an average of $1,000, some 12, some 800, that type of thing. And you've done 8 of those. That's okay.
Yeah.
So, so we're looking at that number there. So that's 800 times, let's just say on an average, 19, okay, that's $7,200.
That we won't have to do in the future, you're saying.
Which we won't.
I see.
Okay. And at this point right now, you can back that off and say, okay, if we took that reserve and still took it up from 247, okay, up to 260,
yeah. Save
that $20,000, because that addition, and if you have to do those incremental things,
yeah.
You'll still cover those dollar amounts. So
Hey, I just wanted to interject. This is Jennifer. I was able
Sure.
to join briefly, so I'm not sure where we are. I just joined.
yeah, we're down looking, we're talking about the reserve right now, from the 247 mark to 280. Okay.
Okay, yeah,
And-
because I had sent an email, I think you probably saw it, about my 2 questions regarding the increase in the dues related to the landscape and then the reserve fund contribution.
Yeah, we'll recap that quickly. The landscaping, we have an allocation there in case you want to go to RFP. The new rates are going to be much higher. So we put some numbers in there, but we somewhat decided here, if we're not going to go to RFP, keep it flat at 72.8 instead of bumping up to 99.6. Does that make sense to you?
It does, yes.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then taking the reserve number up from the 247 to like 260, okay, versus the
Let's
280.
shave 20,000 off of our allocation that we propose now. So instead of 280, go to 260.
Okay, yeah, because it seemed a little high, the percentage of the budget that was going toward reserve.
Yeah,
Right,
we were doing
but-
catch up. We were just saying that, and then Craig made a good point. If we anticipate, first of all, we did some of this work, remedial work already. Hopefully it won't come back to us. And then we hope to get money in the future. But we don't want to bank on that money, but so somewhere in between. So maybe shaving 20,000 off. We'll do some quick numbers now.
Yeah, I mean, Jen, that's gonna still take that number up by 13,000, literally round numbers, 12,000 and change. And when we're only spending right now to do that soffit work and all that stuff right now at about $7,200 on a weighted average. Right now, we still have that. Realistically, the money will come in regardless whether it's $400,000 or $1 million. You can replenish all that. And in 2028, it looks like that, we're gonna get settlement probably in that time frame. Then the discussion of the reserve could be next year.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can look over all this as well. I realize I'm coming in very late here, but figured I'd try and pop in if I could.
All right, so that would take that down to 20,000.
Ashley, you had a question? You want to jump in?
Oh, thank you. Actually, Craig, I feel like you elaborated far better than I would. So far, what you've said, I think, is tracking with what I was hoping to hear. So sorry to interrupt. Keep going. I'm good.
I still want to continue this conversation though, so we got it from 280 to 260. And so why the increase from 247 to 260? Just more padding?
Oh, I'll tell you, at the end of 2025, we look at our reserve study and what our anticipated reserve balance should be. So at the end of 2025, we were $61,000 short. So we're trying to catch up on that number. And we're tracking.
Short of what?
Yeah,
I guess.
Yep, this is the funding plan we're bringing up here. And so we try to go by the reserve study as our guide. So these are the balances we're shooting to have by the end of each year, anticipating our expenditures coming up in future years.
So like in I guess like looking at 26 here, reserve.
You should have 1.74. You see that anticipated?
Oh, yeah.
So at the end of 26, we're gonna be about $68,000 short, roughly. I mean, we'll see what our actual interest earned is.
Well, there you go. So you're gonna offset some with interest too on the investment base there too, Tyler, or Taylor.
Yeah, I see.
I mean, see, this reserve study was showing $42,000 in interest. I don't know if we'll realize all of that, but at the end of the year, we'll make the adjustment as necessary. But I don't want to bank on that money that we haven't quite earned yet. That's our strategy.
So there's two things here. One, the settlement, and the other one, the interest base on the investment strategy to offset the potential of that $61,000.
So we're proposing to increase it about $20,000 in order to reach this proposed goal. And
To catch up.
I see. And this is a fund that pays for what? Besides the potential roof issues?
Painting, landscape. We have a landscape portion of that. Maybe I'm up to you. We have vinyl fence. Oh, it's all up there too. You see vinyl fence, gutters, irrigation, landscape, railings,
And
roofs,
this-
shutters, and paint.
Painting in there as well?
Painting, yeah.
Yep, painting.
You pulled money out of reserves to do those backlights too, didn't you?
I think that's part of
Alex,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Taylor, your reserve fund as well is part of the Florida Statute 420 requirements to have it done by a national study company and to have it funded based on the funding's requirements. So it does have some restrictions to it based, and as well as that you can't pull money out of it to use for a rainy day for operating expenses. You can only use it on the lines that are funded with inside your reserve study.
I see. So if I wanted to see what exactly this is going, is this the document I should be looking at? Like, because if it's covering irrigation, but then we're also doing something for landscape. So it's like in addition to everything else. Sorry if
These are reserves. So top portion of the budget, that's all operating. Those line items. So this chart that you're looking at is reserve expenditures. Good, Jake.
The biggest difference is operating is repairs, reserve is replacement. So the irrigation lines in your reserve is typically for replacement of the irrigation system in full, funded about every 30 years. The only line that does have some kind of doubling up is the landscape improvements.
I see.
And that's mainly designed so that way you have money for when all plant life reaches maturity and you need to do a big swap out, there's funding for it.
I see. Okay.
But as far as keeping your community and community standards, if a bush dies or,
That's
5 square
Farm.
meters of sod needs replaced, those are operating expenses.
By pulling that down, just by pulling it down that $20,000, you're talking about reducing basically the monthly again by $15.20.
Okay.
Okay, so
Drops
all of
you to
these
a
numbers are now
5.5.
coming down, you started at 369. And then we talked about the whole landscaping piece of that stuff. That's going to drop it down by what, $21?
Exactly.
So now it's $21 plus the $15. If we just did make those two changes, you're now talking about on a per monthly basis, bringing that down by $36.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With those
I
two-
think it's a great step, but I don't exactly know like how we've been able to maintain. I mean, before 2023, how often did we increase these fees for the residents? Is that easily accessible? So it looks like we
Well,
went
that's
6 years without increasing it, then we increased it in 26, and now we're going to increase it again. Is the plan just to increase it every year?
Because it looks like we have a shortfall, depending upon what the estimate, because we have to do roofing and all that other stuff, which is a total replacement on the reserve. And that's why we decided to invest money simultaneously to offset the deficit that we look like that possibly would have in the $61,000 on the reserve side. So if
On a
that
high
makes
level-
up the different, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just on a high level, you are an increase every year and relevance to just above CPI is expected in the HOA world because of one item as your operational expenses going up by a small CPI level. Then the reserve expenses, your allocation funding line is funded or recommends funding at a higher level year after year after year of about, I think that 3%. So if you ever are to run flat, which you did in 24 and 25 budgets, those were done so by squeezing something to artificially lower dues from where they would have necessarily needed to be at in those years, which I remember with Craig that we did do that. I want to say for 25,
Yeah.
like we bought down, we bought down the reserve allocation, knowing that it would put us for 26 slightly behind, but we did it so that way we could run one more year of a flat increase. Just because, like you said, you can only deal with 1 year at a time.
I remember that, yeah. So we've been trying to be very, Taylor, we've been very modest in what we've elevated. It's just like we're challenging this now versus going, up the 280 position on the reserve, from the 247, holding that, because I still believe that, again, we can't bank on everything, but the reality is that we have money that we know that's going to come in, even if it's going to be a couple $100,000, if not more. We know it is.
Yeah.
And I know we can't bank on that, but we are also turning around, even with this situation, being at a $41,000 deficit situation based upon the projection piece. I still think, and then you have again next year's budget, if you did that, we're doing this in modest increases in order to hold your monthlies down, because what the changes we've just made, you're going to go from 369 down to 332, roughly in that world right there. By making those two line item holds. So,
Ashley, question?
Yes, so
Yeah.
Craig,
Go ahead, Ash.
yeah, what was that last number you said, Craig, going down from 369 to what?
about 332 right now, okay? It still would be an elevation from and that's just looking at these two items here. Now, what we haven't gone back is we haven't tweaked the whole issue with pressure, washing, that type of thing, which would again be just a couple dollars there. So we're probably looking at, we could probably get this thing down realistically to the 330 number versus and currently right now you're at 315.
I mean, look, the roof number's a heavy number, 5,000 up from 500. That's a huge increase.
Right.
If you prefer to just, I don't want to say risk it, but drop the number, and then if we have more roof repairs coming in, we somewhat figure it out.
Well, that number is in thing, that is a number I would take down a couple $1,000. I
Okay.
would.
Okay.
I would take that down to be even from $500 to $3,000. That, you know, take some money out of the pressure tracing. We probably have found another
So that's
$2,500 to $3,000 right there. Okay, well, if you do that and it's $3,000, divide that by the 109 and thing, divide that by 12, you know, you're looking at $2 and $2.30, guys, by making those changes off the actual 332. So now we're down in the world of roughly 330, which is what ultimately it's going to be about a 15% increase, a $15 increase,
yeah,
not percent, not.
And if, so with that in mind, Craig, I'm definitely, like I said earlier, I feel like you were able to break it down better than me, that 332 is definitely more manageable. I'm curious, I know Taylor brought it up earlier about the landscaping. That does seem to be like one of our biggest items on the budget. And I know you guys said you don't want to go to RFP until next year because the contract ends. But yeah, I would wonder, Taylor, I mean, as you're asking about areas that we could possibly cut, is there anything from that budget going into this cycle that we could look into, or is it too late with the contract that was already signed?
Yeah, like,
the base.
Alex, are we
Question.
locked at the 72 per year at a minimum?
Yeah, that is locked. The out of contract, you know, we're going from 12 to 14. If you want to drop that, that's an option.
And what is that?
I agree.
What is that, the difference between that and then what is in the reserve fund? Like, is that just
They're
repair?
both. It's a summation of both. So for instance, this year we have 12,000 plus the 8750. So 12,000 operating and 8750 in reserves on that reserves chart.
So what's an example of something that would come out of the landscape not in contract?
Any plants, any bushes,
All the
sod,
circumstances we're replacing.
anything outside of just regular maintenance, weekly maintenance, any above and
In
beyond.
addition to the fact that already the stuff that he's going to handle under warranty,
Correct. That's separate. That's a
that's a separate deal.
right.
Yeah.
And we addressed that on the walkthrough.
I guess to give it context, and Ashley's kind of saying this, and we're relatively new to this, we're getting up to speed, and we appreciate the foundation. What the context is like, we'll come outside and I'll see a guy kind of blowing out front, and then 5 minutes later, I see a different guy blowing the same area. And so like, it just seems like there's a lot of like bloat around that. And like, if we're looking to ask our residents to increase and pay more per month for a second time in a row, I would like to know, you know, where we can cut those areas. And do we really need to have a blower there, 2 blowers, 2 different companies every week and things like that? So like, I understand one is for CROA and one's not us, but
No, they're all us. It should be the same landscaper. It should be one team. It should be one team. Parks and service areas, all the same contractor.
Yeah, the only thing that you'll see there is remember, Parks is under a different contract. Okay, so when they do maintenance on that type of thing, and you see Brian's crew, and he has a different crew doing that, and you'll see them blowing a thing. Again, that's a whole different contract that doesn't pertain to us. Okay, so you'll see some additional maintenance associated with people in the community doing park maintenance. Okay,
and they're trying to streamline that as well. They try not to make it too separate. He tries to geographically move through the area since he does have both contracts. He tries to geographically move through so he doesn't have that noise impact that folks have complained about. But if you are still seeing 2 blowers on the same day, it might be just follow up. You might have just a follow up team just for quality assurance. Because other times we'll hear the opposite of, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do this.
Yes, yeah, I get it. Okay, so maybe this area, the landscape not in contract, increases an area we can further cut. Like, is the 2,000 increase? Are we getting additional services? Is it also
Well, it's just giving us, it's our shopping basket if we want to buy more things or not. These are all items we choose to or choose not to upgrade.
Well, just remember, guys, our community is now 12 years old. Okay, I mean, it's 2014 is one thing, and so you're going to have plants that are just going to run their natural existence. We also had a freeze this past year.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some other things that are associated with the landscaping that we have to make sure you budget, because just this year, life of these plants are going to wear out. You know, so I mean, we had that with the holly and we had it with the front. Yeah, Taylor, before you came, there was bushes that we had lined up. Brian did a really nice job because he repurposed a lot of bushes, as we talked about on the walkthrough, where we didn't pay for those things. So I think Brian, in good faith, is stood behind things that were warranted, especially in the sod area.
Yeah.
Okay, then he turned around and repurposed plants.
Yeah.
And then our maturity of our neighborhood is now at 12 years old. So some of these plants are going to run to a maturity base. So to cut that and to put no money in, I think we have to
I
be
mean,
careful.
this year was, I don't want to say it was a fluke. I think this year with the frost, we'll start seeing more often. And we were pretty conservative on replacements. We're trying to hold off as much as possible. And we start seeing some sprouts and we say, all right, it's coming back. Instead of just doing blanket, swaps there. And then like holly's another big one. We call it aging out. Those are coming up and those typically be entire, lines in front of a home at once. And same thing, we've been holding off. We see green, we leave it. We've been getting rid of dead. But we get to a point where you're gonna have a couple inches on the top and all twigs below.
Well,
And we decide, do we want to swap or not? So that's where some of these, that's where this additional out of contract work comes into play.
well, the other additional
Yeah,
contract and why some of this is going to go up is the fact that a lot of these bushes, when they were planted and it was contracted, is that they're much more mature and a lot larger. So it's time, effort, and all that for maintenance. I mean, just look at the hedge on your side of your thing. They were very small when that was first built. Now they're, I don't know, 6 foot tall. The
Craig,
hedge
and I'll
hiding your porch.
piggyback on that, having been part of the committee for several years, and just sort of supporting what you're saying in terms of, I think a lot of work has gone into trying to be as fiscally responsible as we can with the plants, but having lived here since they built the community and knowing that certain plants were put in that probably weren't the ideal plants, and just trying to make sure we had a good plan to swap those out to make sure that the community continues to look good. And we're replacing those plants that are aging out and that were perhaps not the right ones with ones that will be longer lasting, so that hopefully they don't need to be replaced, as quickly. So I feel like with some of the budget there for the landscape allocation, it does make some sense to have a little bit there, just to make sure we can sort of keep the community to the standard that it should be.
Ashley?
Yeah, I think something that just as a resident would be good to get an answer to. I think what I'm hearing just with the committee and how you guys have run, and then the questions that Taylor and I have as newer people who are joining these calls, I think the issue for us is we want the maintenance that you guys are providing. We think this is all good. It's just paying. I think the bigger problem is we pay two as the town owners. You guys do too. We pay the CROA and we pay the Spring Lake. Is there any form of negotiation we can work with Celebration itself? Because we're paying double as town homeowners in that service area. So to me, as a resident, it is kind of odd that I have to pay for everybody else's house and the townhomes. You know what I'm saying? So is there anything that can be done there? I'm wondering to work on this budget for us as a whole.
Well,
I'll
you're paying
say,
the city of, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, we keep those, we know that gets brought up, but we get that brought up from the opposite side as well, saying our resources that we're paying into the general CROA HOA being used inside the service area department or service area uses, because that means the greater Celebration's paying for those. Your CROA bill pays for right now 99 parks in Celebration, as well as all of the community pools and playgrounds. And that money doesn't get spent inside Spring Lake Townhomes. Every cent that you pay into the Spring Lake Townhome service area goes back to the Spring Lake Townhome service area. So there's no intermingling of those funds, and there won't be any. That type of request has gone, or the board understands, but they're not going to move on that. Where you are on a benchmarking level, you are the lowest paying per door landscape contract by about 50% is to the next step to per door rate to the next contract of the 14 Alex manages. Of the 14 service areas and townhome associations, there you are one of two under $400 a month. And there are 1, 2, 3, 5 of the 14 over $500 a month. I know those numbers don't affect
Those
yours
numbers are crazy.
specific budget. I mean, I just wanted to share them just as an overall, kind of benchmark of where where this
Yeah.
service area sits.
Yeah,
against some
actually,
others.
we have really worked hard to try to keep this. I mean, if you remember last year, I mean, not this year, but 2 years ago, we actually went with a 0 increase. And actually, we went down a few cents, okay, down on this. So we have been really
Yeah.
very cognizant of that issue. And you and I actually talked about that when we held the reserves to that amount. And now, again, we had a little bit of an increase this past year we crossed the threshold of $300 and went to 315, and now we're asking to go to 330. So I understand everybody's concern. It's tough for everybody because you are paying, the other side of that. But I know for a fact that we're low compared to a lot, and yet we're getting a lot of services for that. I think because we're a very active committee and group.
Yeah.
So that's just my 2 cents in the matter here. So
Trying to share it,
So it looks like 331 is our updated dues. If we make the reduction in landscaping and dues contributions by 20,000, resulting 5%.
can we take that 1 to 3, that 3,000, I mean, we're going up from 500 to 5,000. Can we make that change there? And Taylor, that's that whole issue here where we would only go up. It's going from $500 to 5,000. Take that thing up from 5,000 or $500 to 3,000.
That's this budget she pulled up reflects that.
Can you make that change?
So
Okay, all right, as long as you made the change. Okay, that's great.
yeah, I'll say management would agree with the 3 changes of recapping. The 3 changes were lowering the landscape contract amount from $99,000 to $72,808, lowering the reserve from $280,000 to $260,000, lowering the operating roof line from $5,000 to $3,000, which brings your increase from a 15 point something to a flat 5.
5%. All right, that's a little more
5%.
digestible.
Mhm.
Just 2 more questions. For the landscape non-contract, we're going from 12 and 26 to 14 and 27. Is the 2,000 is to cover additional anticipatory issues?
Basically, yeah, basically.
Security rates and all.
And are projected are we going to hit 12,000 and 26? It looks like we're going to be less.
We're up there. I mean, I could give you a breakdown of how we're tracking for this year. Let me see.
Typically,
see how we're tracking.
the projections on the landscape line always seem skewed because we always build a buffer in that line for any hurricane remediation. So Alex does a good job trying not to spend out of that line in the first quarter or 2 quarters too much, as well as trying to hit the reserve, any expenses out of your reserves to exhaust that line before coming out of your landscape line here. So it does tail heavier towards the last quarter or last 2 quarters.
Is that replacement and cleanup that's in there for hurricane?
It's a flex number, whatever it is.
We
Okay,
don't, yeah, it would be whatever cost you get for a replacement and cleanup typically comes out of that non-contract line.
okay.
Right now, I'm showing about 13,000 between operating and reserve spent and out of contract. And then I have one coming up now to be a decent amount. I want to say maybe 2,000. Let me ask. So our total for the year was, I think, 18.
You're saying it's more like 15, 16.
Well, actual spent is 12,000 or so.
But you said you have some more coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Our total, we're about 21 for the year. So we're spending, and I'm being conservative. I'm trying to space it out. We're gonna do driveways next. All the driveways are gonna get the RIP, those slivers, those triangles in the back driveway. So those will all be populated now with this next round. We just did the side.
That comes from like the 12,000 budget from 26.
Correct. Those would be out of contract, all these plant upgrades. Any new plant basically out of contract will come out of these out of contract numbers, either operating or reserve.
Just now looking at your reserve expenditures again, I would advise not lowering that landscape, not in contract line out of operating, because your reserve allocation starting 2027 is cut in half for landscaping, from 8,700 to 4,000. And it stays flat for a few years like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
If it was staying at that 8 amount, there might have been some wiggle room there, but
Why is that cut in half, Jacob?
I think when this last study was done, they recognized the deficiencies in the landscaping in the service area, so they doubled the funding for the next 3 years.
Okay. Oh, and then
So
now
now you're going
ends of the double the funding. I see.
Yeah, 2026 ends the double funding, and you go back down to because then you're staying at around a 4,500 with, it looks like a 3% increase year after year on that line, and you don't hit 8,000 again until 2048 on that line.
Okay, and last one, I recognize we're at time here. The termite bond, is that literally a bond, or is that related to something else?
That's a bond for the, it's for, all the stuff that's out front, in front for termite. All the little green things that are down on the, and they come and test and pull for termites. And it's a bond associated with that.
So it's a bond, it's like a fund that we can get from if there's an issue with termites on one of the residents' houses?
Jacob, I think it is. Is that correct?
No, I see it this way, that you pay for the year, you pay a service for the whole year, and then on a monthly
Right.
basis, this company is gonna come and just do the pest control. And what you see here is the cost for the whole year.
So it's pest
Right.
control, not just termites?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's predominantly that, but the bond isn't issued through the service area, it's through the pest control company. I think is
Correct.
if I'm trying to understand your question clearer.
Well, my
It's-
question is, what is it? Like, what is this? It's pest control as a termite bond?
It's just the
Yes.
termites, it's termite treatment, it's to avoid, it's done every 2 years. They inspect every year, but every 2 years is treatment.
And so the 11,000 is like, so if 2027 is an inspection year, that's for their inspection?
It's included in that pricing, their inspection and the treatment.
I see, but we treat every other year?
Correct. They
Okay,
come on site and if they see any activity, then they'll
They
treat.
treat.
I see. And so this is kind of like building up that fund. If they come and they're like, whoa, there's like a big infestation, now we have this 11,000 to pull from to treat it?
They would, no, you have a certain.
That's theirs.
contract amount.
It's like an insurance policy effectively we're paying for.
Yeah. Okay,
And then they would cover the remedial work
So they do an inspection and then they service and inspect on the second year
as needed.
as needed. And that's something you don't want to mess with. It's not down here.
and so.
All right, so
I'm sorry, so if individual residents have pest control issues, do they come to this budget to pay for it, or is this for like service areas?
it's for the building, correct?
Correct.
It's not for the individual, for individual pest control for roaches and all that other stuff. You have that's a whole owner thing. But if it's truly an infestation for termites for the building, because we have four homes attached to one building, that's the bond.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Excellent. So we have our committee recommendations. We're going to keep the landscaping flat. Roofing will go from 5,000 to 3,000, and reserve allocation will go from 280 to 260,000.
Okay.
And that'll result in a net dues of 331.72, which is a 5% increase. And this is the recommendation we're going to bring to the board. I believe it's August 26th. This will be presented to the
Is Jennifer still on board? Jen, you still here? Yeah.
Yep,
okay,
I'm
we
still
have
here.
one.
Yep.
You
Any
agree?
other input? Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you hear the final number that we're gonna go to the board
I
with?
did. Yep,
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Okay. Taylor?
Yeah, do you mind scrolling down? I can see like the increases in the delta for, I can't see it under for the administrative expenses. I see.
You're talking about above the line on
Yeah,
Federal
no, I
Reserve?
just couldn't see the full thing. Okay, yeah, no other questions.
Okay. All right, so the original one we walked in here was at 369.03, and then we're gonna recommend to the board 331.72. Is that correct? Okay. Which is a 5% elevation.
That's it. Good work. Okay, there's no further input. We get a motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
second. We get a second on Taylor? Or Jen?
Second. Sorry, I thought that
Excellent,
was your
thank you.
second.
Thank you very much. Thank you for attending. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
All right,
Have a good day.
talk to you later.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. At the meeting.